In this video, I am going to share my own story of thinking in English, because when we do not think in English, we tend to speak slower and we just tend to be less proficient in English language, and we always tend to translate in our native language. So this thinking in English is just like a transitional period in English, and this is the key for you to move from intermediate to upper intermediate and from upper intermediate to advanced level. So in this video I am going to tell you exactly what happened with me and how my transition process and how I started thinking in English, because it was my habit. When I woke up in the past, my brain used to be sleepy and I was in the habit of asking different kind of questions from myself in English. But my brain used to tell me that I could only answer in my native language, that is Punjabi. So it was the hardest moment for me throughout the day to translate from native language to English. But by the evening, I was quite able to have conversation in English with my teacher, Sir Amar bin Adal, about any subject, because throughout the day, I spent my day thinking in English. I went to bed thinking in English, and I think it was the third week of this process when I dreamed in English. Yes, dear audience, it was the transitional period and it was the huge transformation for me, that when one day I just went to my bed and I dreamed in English, and it was like a switch from my native language to English, because at that moment my brain was functioning in English language. My brain was thinking in English, not in my native language. And it was like teenage period for me, and the process went very fast. Suddenly I woke up in the morning. I went straight to my brother and said, "Hey brother, I dreamed in English." And you could imagine that this was the huge transformation, this was the huge transition, and this was the greatest change in my life, that my brain was now thinking in English. At that moment, I thought that I should create some rules. I should create some tips for myself, because I wanted that feeling to stay with me throughout my life. I wanted to think in English throughout my life. So I devised some of the rules, some of the topics, some of the tips which I am going to share in this video. The first rule which I created for myself was that I brought a lot of books and magazines in English language. And I decided at that moment that from this day onward, for all non-study material, I would get material in English. I would not go for my native language. This was my period and this was my time, because I thought at that moment that this is the best way to consume information in English. So I decided at that moment that from now on I would do all stuff in English, whether it's a YouTube video, whether it's a Instagram, whether it's a book, I would read everything in English. Next point, the number 2 rule which I created for myself and which is still working for me, is that whenever you read a new concept, whenever you encounter a new topic you want to study. For example, if you want to study about filmmaking, if you want to study about photography, if you want to study about politics or traveling or anything else, just read that and go to the Google and go for images and read what it means, what this means, but don't go for translation, and accept and understand the concept in English. this is the best way, because what happens in our educational system, and this is the very wrong approach, and what is that, if I say that this is pencil, if I say that this is pencil, teachers would say that this is pencil, and then they would translate it in their native language. They would not give you the concept that it is for writing purpose. Their focus is on translation. So your brain starts in the wrong way. It starts to read and to learn in the wrong way. You have to move towards your concepts rather than translation. And dear audience, can you imagine we have 12 hours in a day? So the best thing is that you should do all your things in English. You should maintain a planner. You should maintain a habit tracker. If you don't have a planner, if you don't have a habit tracker, you just can have your notebook and write down what I have done today. Reading and make it a tick. Then writing, make it a tick. And if you go for English movie, make it a trick. In this way you are making it a habit, you are developing, and you are tracking your own progress. And another interesting point at that moment was that I was surrounded by non-native speakers. Non-native speakers, they mostly speak in Punjabi language. I wanted to keep my thoughts to myself. So whenever I wrote down my thoughts, I would prefer to write them in English, because I didn't want them, others, to know about my secrets, to know about my thoughts. Because, and this you can apply in your own life, that you can just write down your thoughts, what you are feeling in English language, and it would be a top secret for you, because the other people surrounding you can't read that. Another exercise which I am going to give you, and very best exercise, is that whenever you listen a lyric, whenever you listen a song, try to write down the song. What would be the benefit? It is an excellent practice, because your brain would pay attention to the words, your brain would capture the words, and you would be much easier way to learn the language. And the best thing is, the key is regularity. You should be very regular. It doesn't mean that you should read 3 hours a day and then next day you are nothing, and you are not doing anything. You should practice on the regular basis, because regularity or consistency is the key factor to attain your development, to attain your destination, to attain your fluency in English language. Because the distance between yourself and the destination of speaking English language can be covered with regularity and with consistency, with hard work, and you have to plan your day on the daily basis. So if you find this content useful and informative, please drop a comment and suggest me and tell me how do you practice to think in English, whether you are still in the process of translation or you are able to think in English. So till the next video, stay happy, stay blessed. Thank you so much. Have a nice day.